So you have a very impactful song that's doing insane numbers. You called it Dear Alcohol.
Yes, sir.
You know, you had a really cool video. Saw as well on the side of making the video, how it was done versus how it was, you know, started and all that. Talk about how that was, because that's a very personal one, right? And you had a lot of people also reach out to you. Right. I saw in the comments of YouTube saying how they were battling with issues and how that helped them kind of reach a point where they could live with it, you know? So it's like, talk about that on your side, and then also people reaching out to you about the song's impact.
Yeah, so Dear Alcohol started as a poem when I first started writing poetry back in Wichita, Kansas. I used to take these things called mental health walks. I would walk to the liquor store and the mall, East Town Square, I think, in Wichita, Kansas, and I would just buy some cheap alcohol. And I would go to my room before I'd go out and party, and I would just write poetry. So one day I have this little bottle, basically, you know, cleaner. Take a couple sips, and I just say, Dear Alcohol. And I start writing this Dear Alcohol poem. It turns into a whole poem. And I have a section of poems that I wrote back then, like Dear God was one, Dear Alcohol was one that I just hope are eventually going to turn into songs. And whenever I find one of these songs, they end up being my biggest songs. Like Dear God was a poem first. Then one day I wrote the song, and I was like, oh, I finally found the song to the poem. One of my biggest songs. And I didn't think Dear Alcohol was gonna come as a song, because I was like, how am I going to
put this into
you know what I mean? So then Lex played the beat, and I was just like, I can't, oh no, that's a different song. Ooh, 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 ooh. I got wasted because I, boom, wrote the whole thing, and I was like, yo, this is Dear Alcohol. Mm-hmm. So as soon as I finished writing the song and I realized it was the song to the poem I had written almost 5 years ago, I just knew it was going to be a whole thing. And I also knew it was the sign from God for me to stop drinking, because at that point I had been drinking every day. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it was a 10-year journey. I started drinking when I was 17. I was never a blackout drinker or anything like that. I wouldn't say I was like an alcoholic, but it was just something I was doing every day, coupled with the lifestyle of music. It's everywhere, every show, every studio.
Everywhere you go, yeah, you can't avoid it, yeah.
That one, the first year I started touring, I did 100 shows, the Tech 9 tour, my own American, my own Canadian, 100 shows, drinking before every show. Then I came back, the pandemic hit, you know, drinking the whole pandemic. I looked up and I was like, yo, when was the last time I hadn't drank in 2 days in a row? I didn't know. Wrote Dear Alcohol, boom.
No, that's a big thing, and that's very hard even for the self to be able to notice that too, right? Because most people just overlook that they have something going on, and you know.
Right. And I had people tell me, you know, my mom told me at one point, she was like, she calls it the dark drink. Mm-hmm. Daddy, stop drinking this dark drink. She's Nigerian. You know, so it had been like, it had come to my attention. I was somewhat aware of it, and I'd been telling myself, like, man, you just got to chill on this shit. So once I put out that song, the pressure of just everybody, you know, people ask, how did I stop drinking at that point? I said, well, first thing I did, I got rid of all the alcohol around me in situations that involved it. You know, I wasn't touring at that point, so I wasn't going to be put in front of me. And then just the weight and pressure from that song.
Well, that's very respectable, you know, and you've helped a lot of people as well with that song, so having your music have that impact on other people must have a really heavy, you know, thing on your heart as well.